Now, basically, the Spartans are, they're effectively the toughest guys on Earth, and you're their king, so you're the toughest of the Spartans. So when you're sort of preparing a character, how do you go around convincing yourself you are basically the hardest man on Earth?
I don't know. I don't know what I do. I don't know how I become a king. I just trust and pray that it happens.
All right, nice to meet you. How
Hello,
are you doing?
nice to meet you.
Very good to meet you.
Very nice. Which are you from?
We're from the BBC and the LFF together.
Ah, yeah, that's very
Now, I
nice.
understand today in Kazakhstan is Republic Day. It's a holiday today. So
Yeah,
what's it
so-
like to be here on Kazakhstan Day?
It is very important. I have been blessed by my premier to come here and celebrate Republic Day, spread the glory of Kazakhstan, which is now equal country to everywhere else, as civilized as anywhere else. Women are now permitted to travel on inside of bus. Homosexuals no longer have to wear blue hats, and the age of consent have been raised to 12 years old. Please, you must come.
Fantastic.
We spoke to Todd Field yesterday, and he described you as the best actress of your generation.
Oh, did he really?
I mean, what does when someone says that, that's lovely, or is it like thanks for the pressure, or how do you deal with those sort of
God,
comments?
that's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing that Todd said that. Oh, bless him.
Not making up.
Not the most obvious commercial thing. So how do you pitch it to people when
You
you
don't
want to
think a
get
black
that?
and white film about a 50s icon is a big commercial film? I don't know, you just hope it, you want to make films you want to make and hope that you can make a living off of it at some point, but mostly you just want to, you don't do it to make a lot of money, you do it because you want to.
I guess most people know you from, comedy things like Hitchhikers or The Office. It's just a feeling I have. When you're doing a role like this, is it different? Are you sort of flexing different acting muscles, or is it all just part of the job of acting?
Good question. I think partly it is different muscles, but also partly the roles that I like to play and the stories that I like to see made in films are three-dimensional. And, as much as, sometimes you're depressed, you're also sometimes funny, and you're also angry, and you're also in love, And that's the same for every human being on Earth.
Now, would you ever think about doing a tour of England? What would the things you'd like to see in our country?
I would very much like to meet Queen, very much, not for sexy time, merely for respect, and also very much the children's and Prince Charlie. Very nice.
This film seems to be making a real impact. It's really struck a chord with people. What do you think it is about this movie that people are responding to so much?
Well, that it ended up being a good film.
This amazing image. This is you. Right?
That's him.
What did you make when when you first saw this, and then when you actually dressed up? Because I can imagine him, sort of Studio 54, New York, 1977.
Yeah, well, it's the modern version of it.
How's your Japanese and your Arabic?
ありがとうございます。お疲れ様でした Nothing. When you think that you are understanding a little bit, then you know that you haven't understand nothing about that culture. It's fascinating.
It's the theme of the movie again, right?
Exactly.
You learned some of the language as well, right?
I tried to learn Kiswahili, and during the time when I was filming the movie, I believed that I could speak Kiswahili, but I think I tricked my mind, what I mean? Now when people ask me,
Do you have your Oscar speech ready?
Oh, well, I just hope people go to the movie, and I hope people keep talking about it in a positive way.
Now, a dysfunctional family on a road trip, I mean, it's something that has been seen quite often. So what was it about this that made you think, actually, there's scope here for something different?
Yeah, I mean, when we first heard about the script, we weren't interested, frankly. But when we read the material, we saw that these were characters that we completely related to. They felt like they existed in our world.
And we related to all 6 characters. I felt like I understood each one of them. And I think that's pretty unusual in a script, to feel like you both relate and actually like them. I mean, I wanted to spend an hour and a half with these people, or what ended up being 5 years for us.
I imagine a movie like this, just given its nature, there's a lot of kind of testosterone floating around on the set. I'm just wondering, where do you fit into that? Because A, you're not part of the battle, and B, there's all these men, running around killing each other. How does that work for you on set?
Well, it's funny because they're all heavenly boys in this, they're all just good fun, but it just gets, they're actors, you know what I mean? You've got actors in leather pants who've worked out for 7 months. There's a slight girliness going on. It's not all macho energy. It's a little bit kind of, who looks better in their pants?
Sort of comparing face creams and all that kind of stuff.
Slight competition of abs going on.
I understand you were filming last year during the sort of when the 7/7 bombings in London happened. Did that kind of give you a sense of the urgency of what you were discussing? Did it sort of change or, you know, have an effect on what you were doing with the film?
It was humbling and not in a constructive way. It felt very hard to shoot. It felt very silly to be making things up when the world was busy doing what we were, in a way, talking and speculating about. It didn't make me feel great, and it made me very uncomfortable to think that perhaps fiction is not as important as I'd like it to be sometimes.
Now, we have a cultural ambassador here, a guy called Ali G. Now, if he was to go to your country, can you recommend any things that he should have a look over there?
We would not allow this Mr. G into my country. I was part of his television program. My program was bought by his. And he is not a serious journalist. If I can say, some of his comments and interviews are not well prepared.
I think there's some sort of perception that, you know, you're a very brave actress, but I mean, I wonder, do you see why people say that in terms of choice of roles you've made or things that you maybe haven't done compared to other big name actresses out there?
Would you mind awfully repeating that question? Because I was thinking about a question that this woman asked me this morning, which just suddenly really annoyed me.
I'm glad I've grabbed you.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's just about, I can see why he might be saying that about, you know, complimenting you, because it seems that your choices are not the obvious traditional ones, and you do things that are maybe a bit unusual or quite daring. And I wonder, do you think of it in those terms when you're making those choices?
Well, I suppose sort of whilst I'm shooting a film, I do think, oh, blimey, this is, you know, this is a bit of a big deal. This is a tough one. You know, this is a risk, isn't it? Cool, you know. But I don't think I'm really aware of that going in necessarily so much, because what's important to me is the script and the character and whether I think I can play that part or not, and how big the challenge is going to be.
Grant was saying earlier that like other people might have pictures of you in the house. In your family, there was a picture of Ed Murrow.
Yeah.
What did he mean to you?
Well, my father was an anchorman, so it meant a lot to us. You know, it was about news always for us. So news is a big part. You know.
Do you ever get used to this stuff?
No. It's always a little embarrassing, isn't it?